says this: Governor Rick Perry of Texas has refused to release many of the details of the $1.3 billion contract his administration has signed with Sintra for a toll road from Austin to Seguin as part of the Trans-Texas Corridor. The Spanish company has had a close relationship with the governor's office. Perry's former legislative director, Dan Shelley, worked as a Sintra consultant and lobbyist prior to joining the governor's staff, and in September 2005, he went back to work for Sintra. Both he and his daughter, Jennifer Shelley Rodriguez, now have lucrative contracts to lobby Texas legislators on the company's behalf.
Governor Rick Perry attended the 2007 Istanbul Bilderberg meeting to receive his orders from David Rockefeller to pave the way for the North American Union in Texas. Here is a traitor that will sell his country out for 30 pieces of silver.
Dick, it's comforting to know that cronyism and nepotism are alive and well down there in Texas.
It must be time for you to be a little facetious.
Just a little.
It is certainly no little coincidence that Giuliani clients with an interest in acquiring Texas roads and infrastructure for this project also invested in his presidential campaign. This could explain why Giuliani spent as much time fundraising in Texas. The money proponents of the Trans-Texas Corridor, of which there are many, would have liked to see this man become president.
Well, here's an item that attests to Giuliani's character. Ryan Sanger of the New York Sun reports that before he became a private businessman with global clients, Giuliani opposed NAFTA. Dick, the fact that Rudy Giuliani has done such an about-face on so vital an issue as this qualifies him as one of the great criminal opportunists of all time.
Now I know you're not being facetious. A Washington Post article dated May 13, 2007, disclosed that Giuliani's secretive lobbying firm, Giuliani Partners, had made more than $100 billion over the last 5 years, and that clients of Giuliani Partners are required to sign confidentiality agreements, so they do not comment about the work they receive or how much they are paying for it. Though now running for president, Giuliani refuses to identify his clients, disclose his compensation, or reveal any details about Giuliani Partners. He also declined to be interviewed about the firm. Because of this secrecy, a request to visit his wood-paneled offices overlooking Times Square was turned down. A complete picture of the firm and its business is difficult to obtain. This report is based on a review of corporate, government, and court records, along with scores of interviews with clients and government officials who have interacted with Giuliani Partners.
Dick, one question most Americans would probably have is how the globalists can merge the three countries into a single union and build a massive superhighway system through this union without most of the American people knowing about it.
It's not that difficult when you control the money and the media.
And where is our Congress in all of this, Dick?
Mostly in the dark.
Well, Congress in the dark about something? How quaint.
Reminds me of that quip by Mark Twain.
Which quip?
Suppose you were an idiot. And suppose you were a member of Congress. Oh, but I repeat myself.
Very good, Dick. And Twain died in 1910, so Congress has been out of touch at least that long. So the NAU and its superhighway system, which will have very serious security and sovereignty implications, are deliberately being kept secret from both the American people and their elected representatives in the U.S. Congress. And the reason our federal legislature has no oversight over or approval of the NAU is because
it's being implemented by stealth, deception, and disinformation, along with that total media blackout. Tools frequently used by the globalists.
And did I mention that this was being done without the consent of the Congress or the American people?
Oh, a few times.
Well, we can't emphasize that enough, Dick. And the media are probably the globalists' most potent weapon in this information war, wouldn't you say?
I agree, Rick. We've talked about that newspaper buyout by the banking interests in 1915. One of the ways the globalists control the news is to slant it toward a particular viewpoint or conclusion. The euphemism the media likes to use for this is spin.
So when Ralph Cramden plans to go bowling with the boys the night before his company physical, but instead tells his wife that he's pooped and just wants to go to bed after work, that's spin?
Was he planning to go bowling at the time he told his wife he just wanted to go to sleep?
Oh, yes. Norton came by with his bowling ball and confirmed that it was an important tournament.
Then that's just plain lying.
Well, then what's the difference between spin and lying?
None whatsoever.
Oh, okay. I'm glad we straightened that out. So, when the globalists are confronted with information about the NAU, they use the media to deny it or put out disinformation, their spin.
That's right. Then there's the technique where the media deliberately ignores a story or subject.
Most Americans are familiar with our huge immigration problem and that our borders are not being protected, but most haven't heard anything about the North American Union. It's the media that have created NAU ignorance by deliberately not reporting it.
For example, NASCO, North American Supercorridor Coalition, says that the Supercorridor is reportedly the largest engineering project ever undertaken in U.S. history. And the bill that authorized the Texas section, the Trans-Texas Corridor, was passed by the Texas legislature with hardly any voters knowing about it, even though it represented the largest spending bill in Texas history. Such huge projects, spending all that money, should be front-page news. Yet there's nothing in the mainstream media about them.
Well, it's not entirely true, Dick, but what little the media do cover is propagandized. For example, there was an article called Highway to Hell in the November 10th, 2007 issue of Newsweek that ignores the facts in favor of labeling the whole thing as a conspiracy theory. Dick, the difference between the news in the national media and the alternative media, especially the internet, is staggering. It appears there was a plan from the beginning to keep Congress in the dark about the NAU. But since many of our elected representatives are unwittingly supporting the agenda to merge the countries, primarily by pushing for amnesty and benefits for illegal immigrants, it's safe to say that anyone in Congress who is still claiming ignorance about the NAU is really in denial and could well be part of the agenda behind it.
What about the 2008 presidential candidates, Rick?
Funny you should ask, Dick. In the back pages of the July 31st, 2007 New York Times was a small item called Road or Rumor, They're Against It. This brief article explained that Republican presidential candidates were being asked if there was a secret plan to build a NAFTA Superhighway from Mexico to Canada.
As we mentioned earlier, the law firm in which Rudy Giuliani is a senior partner is acting as exclusive legal counsel to Cintra, the Spanish company that has been granted the right to build the highway. But the Times article states, quote, a befuddled Rudy W. Giuliani got the question recently from a woman in Concord, New Hampshire. He told her he had never heard of the highway. Mitt Romney, likewise, disclaimed knowledge of the project, but promised that if it were true, I'll stop it. Federal officials call the superhighway an urban legend, spread about the internet and talk radio. But the candidates want voters to know that they're against it.
So, Rudy Giuliani, whose law firm represents the company that is building the NAFTA Superhighway, has never heard of the highway. Befuddled indeed. Would the Wizard of Oz have been befuddled if Dorothy had asked him if he had ever heard of the Yellow Brick Road?
But the architects of world government are not befuddled. They know very well that if the NAU becomes a reality, then over time it will bring an end to the United States as an independent, sovereign country.
And an end to our Constitution and Bill of Rights.
This, in fact, is a part of what people like David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and other globalists from the past and present are planning.
Dick, suppose we were the proverbial fly on the wall while David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger were discussing creating a North American Union.
In secret, of course.
Oh, naturally. It might be quite revealing to see what they talked about. Let's go to our fly-on-the-wall reporter for a closer look. David, what can we do to speed up the creation of this union?
Well, Henry, a good place to start would be for us to stop enforcing immigration laws and open up the borders. but pretend